I was just having a meal as usual. But then, a sudden wave of intense nausea and discomfort hit me, causing my body to sway uncontrollably. Oh, I feel strange. Losing my balance, I collapsed to the floor. My consciousness became hazy to the point where I couldn't even feel the pain anymore. What's happening? I couldn't muster any strength, unable to lift myself up or change my position. As my consciousness faded, I faintly heard the laughter of my mother-in-law and husband. Everything is going according to plan. I just have to wait. Yeah, Mom. Indeed, they said those words. Before I could even process the meaning of their words, I lost consciousness. The next day, when I woke up in the hospital room, I was confronted with their completely transformed appearances. My name is Megan, and I am 32 years old. Since I was young, I've loved drawing, and I graduated from a specialized school for design. I started working as a web designer at an advertising agency. I met my husband James 4 years ago. I was assigned to handle the web design for a company, and James was the contract person at the time. Initially, it was just a professional relationship, but he asked for my contact information, and we started exchanging messages regularly. We also went out for meals several times and started spending time together outside of work. We were attracted to each other, and after 3 years of dating, we got married 6 months ago. We bought a small house in the middle of our workplace and were living together as a couple. Since we both worked, we have decided to share the household chores, but recently, my husband has been lacking off. Today, as well, there were pizza boxes scattered on the table, presumably from what he ate late at night. And my husband was snoring loudly, sleeping on the sofa. James! Hey, James! I shake my husband's body, but he stubbornly keeps his eyes closed, groaning. I keep calling out to him multiple times, and he grumpily responds, What's up? So early in the morning. It's my day off today, so let me sleep. You didn't even take a shower and slept on the sofa all sweaty, huh? Plus, you left the leftovers from your late night snack as they were. We promised that we would clean up after ourselves, didn't we? You're so annoying. You're my wife. Can't you do a little more for me? Huh? I'm working too, you know. When we got married, we promised to share the household chores, remember? It's too early in the morning to nag. Seriously? Can't I leave it for later? My husband slowly gets up and grumbles as he heads towards the bathroom. Lately, it's been like this all the time. Despite both of us working, and me even earning more than him, my husband doesn't keep his promise and pushes the household chores onto me. If I let him get away with it even once, he'll probably stop doing anything at all. Thinking that, I suppressed the urge to immediately tidy up the messy room and started preparing breakfast. About 20 minutes later, just as my husband finishes his shower, the doorbell rings. Suddenly, my husband, who usually pays no attention to such things, walks lightly towards the front door. Welcome, Mom. With that voice, my mother-in-law appears in the living room. It's still early in the morning, around 8 o'clock. In my pajamas, I quickly adjust my hair with my hands and greet my mother-in-law. Good morning. I'm sorry for disappearance. You never change, Megan. It's been half a year since you got married. And yet, you're so sloppy. I'm sorry, but I didn't know you were coming.
What? Are you trying to blame me? That's just like you. Normally, a wife should tidy up and groom herself at all times, no matter who comes. And what's with this messy room and table? It's a complete mess.
My mother-in-law pointed at the scattered leftovers on the table, expressing her disbelief. My husband looks guilty and averts his gaze. If my mother-in-law scolds him, my husband will reconsider his actions a bit. Thinking that way, I saw it as an opportunity and confided in my mother-in-law. Well, all this mess here is actually James' doing.
Huh? James did it?
Yes. We initially agreed to share the household chores, and that each person should clean up after themselves.
Oh, is that so?
My mother-in-law glanced briefly at my husband, then immediately turned her gaze back at me. Surely, she would reprimand him as well. But just when I thought that, my mother-in-law said something outrageous.
Megan, this is something you should clean up.
Huh?
What's the matter with being dual income? Being a wife means serving your husband. Sharing household chores is out of the question. Since you married someone like James, who is such a good person, you should take care of all the household matters.
It's too unfair.
Huh? So you're saying something like that? Maybe it's a good idea for me to move in with you after all.
Huh?
Move in?
Confused, that doorbell rang again. Heading to the front door, I saw boxes being brought into the room one after another. Wait a minute! What is this? What's going on? When I confronted my husband, he proudly proclaimed,
Oh, Megan, I didn't tell you, but starting from today, Mom will be living with us.
What? Wait a minute! I never heard about this.
Well, if I had mentioned it, you would have definitely objected, right?
James, I don't understand. Why did you decide it without consulting me?
There's no other choice. The apartment where Mom lives is going to be demolished. So, Mom has nowhere else to go.
But even so... Indeed, my mother-in-law had been living alone. After divorcing when my husband was young, she now lives on her pension and the allowance we provide. However, my mother-in-law is still lively and capable of taking care of herself. There's no reason for her to move in with us. Unable to accept it, I confronted my husband right then and there. I don't want to live together. On top of the constant sarcastic remarks from your mother whenever we meet. Whispering to my husband so that my mother-in-law couldn't hear, I pleaded with him.
Mom is just stating the facts, isn't she? Besides, it's because you're a failure that she criticizes you.
A failure? Your mother is just being unfair. James, you know that, don't you?
Anyway, it's already decided. From now on, we'll be living together. This house is under my name, so don't complain about it.
But that's... As I was being overwhelmed by his one-sided argument, my mother-in-law chuckled in the living room, because her son sided with her.
Well, I hope we get along, Megan.
Saying that, my mother-in-law directed the mocking smile at me. Since then, my life has completely changed. The stress I used to feel only from my husband has now been joined by my mother-in-law's. Living in the house had become nothing but a painful experience for me.
Megan, what's with this dinner today? I can't eat something like this. You fold the laundry differently. How many times do I have to tell you to understand? You really are inefficient. Every day, no matter what I do, I'm told with sarcastic remarks. And of course, my husband doesn't stand up for me. After enduring this for about 3 months, I was nearing my breaking point. If things continued like this, I might end up hating my husband too, feeling a sense of crisis. One night in our bedroom, I opened up to my husband about my feelings. James, I have a request.
A request? What is it?
It's about your mother. I can't live with her anymore.
Huh? What are you talking about? It's impossible, obviously.
Please. I'm really struggling with our current life. In response, my husband let out a loud sigh and glared at me.
Struggling? Mom is just educating you.
Educating? Am I such a terrible wife?
You know what? This is why we get so irritated with you. Did you not even realize that? Seriously.
That's cruel. Why do you speak to me like that?
Anyway, make more effort to be recognized by us, okay? It's a miracle that a woman like you could even get married.
I felt a deep sense of despair, as if I had been thrown into the depth of darkness by my husband's words. Was I really a failure compared to the average wife in society? Since then, I found myself consistently falling into self-loathing. Despite making several attempts to discuss it with my husband, he never accepted the idea of ending that cohabitation, and I was forced to live with my mother-in-law for another 6 months. One day, on a holiday, my mother-in-law went out alone during the day. I finished the meal quickly and started cleaning the kitchen. Cleaning had become more difficult since living with my mother-in-law. She would complain about me but leave her own things scattered around, just like my husband. She would even forget about things she had bought herself. And it was not uncommon to find expired items. On this particular day, as I was organizing the fridge, I came across a carton of milk that was about to expire. Since only my husband and my mother-in-law drink milk, it was likely that my mother-in-law had bought it. There were 2 cartons, one close to expiration, and a new one, both already opened. I decided to bring the one closer to expiration to the front and put the new one at the back. While I was doing this, my husband and mother-in-law returned home. That's when my mother-in-law approached me with a big smile.
Megan? I'll be making dinner today, so take it easy.
Huh?
You? Make dinner? What's the matter? Is it not okay if I cook?
It's not that, but are you sure it's alright for me to leave it all to you?
Of course. It's fine to let me do it sometimes.
Then, my husband smiled at my mother-in-law and said, I'll help too. He never offered to help me when I cooked. Does James really want a wife like his mother? I might have already been half brainwashed by them. I should have divorced and left before it came to this. But at that time, I still believed I was at fault. Soon, a variety of dishes prepared by my mother-in-law were lined up on the table. She recommended a cold pumpkin soup to me, saying it was her masterpiece. Then I'll give it a try. As I took a sip, I felt a gritty texture in my mouth. The pumpkin wasn't properly blended, and there were quite a few fibers left.
Megan, you can't make something like this, can you? You are not good at cooking, after all.
Yeah, Megan can't do this much. Your cooking is the best, Mom.
My mother-in-law and husband continued to belittle me while enjoying their meal. I knew I shouldn't waste the food, so I tried to take another sip. But that's when it happened. Huh? I feel something is not right. I was suddenly overwhelmed by intense nausea and discomfort, causing me to stagger and collapse to the floor. My body hit the floor, and I felt no pain. My consciousness was becoming hazy. I couldn't muster any strength, unable to get up or change my position. As my consciousness faded, I faintly heard my mother-in-law's laughter.
Everything is going according to plan.
We just have to wait now. Indeed, my mother-in-law said that. I could also hear my husband's laughter.
Mom, the plan was a success. See? Just as I said. We can spend some quality time together for a while now. You're amazing, Mom.
What I heard was their unpleasant laughter. Before I could contemplate its meaning, I had lost consciousness. When I woke up the next day, I found myself in the hospital. I felt a slight discomfort and a faint pain in my stomach, but it wasn't as severe as the night before. Why? What happened? As I tried to sit up in the hospital bed, I noticed my mother-in-law on the bed in front of me, and my husband on the bed next to hers. They looked drastically different, with sunken cheeks.
Wait! Why is Megan fine?
Upon seeing me, my mother-in-law widened her eyes and raised her voice in anger.
That's right. It does make sense.
My husband shouted, and I asked him for an explanation. What's going on? Why am I okay?
I made sure to use milk with a laxative in your soup.
Huh? A laxative?
Yeah, because you're such a failure. I planned it with Mom. We wanted to give you a little scare. But why a we?
I could hear gurgling sounds coming from my husband's stomach, and his complexion was pale, as if he was about to collapse. At that moment, my mother-in-law glared at me.
What have you done, Megan? The milk with the laxative for you was supposed to be kept at the back of the fridge.
Milk? Wait, could it be... I found some milk that was close to the expiration date, so I brought it to the front.
What? Why did you have to meddle with unnecessary things? Because of that, James and I ended up eating the soup made with laxatives.
Without realizing it, my mother-in-law used the milk in the front for their portion and the milk at the back for my pumpkin soup. She must have thought their plan succeeded when I started suffering. But I likely collapsed for a different reason. Afterwards, they experienced intense abnormal pain and nausea and had to call an ambulance in a hurry. That's how I ended up being taken to the hospital in the same ambulance, while I had collapsed similarly.
Because of you, our plan was ruined. A useless wife like you should stay in the hospital forever.
In that moment, I was snapped back to reality. I was certainly not wrong. These people are just despicable. At that moment, I finally realized. This is ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
Huh?
I haven't done anything wrong. So why do I have to live in fear of these people? I glared at my husband and firmly declared, I'll divorce you once I'm discharged.
What? What are you talking about?
I can't stand being in a family with people like you anymore. I'm getting a divorce, and I'll consult a lawyer.
A lawyer? Are you kidding me?
I'm dead serious. I will never forgive what you have done to me.
Megan?
My husband was clearly shaken by the intensity in my eyes and my determination. Ignoring his stammering,
I turned my gaze to my mother-in-law and stared her down.
And a lawyer?
Such threats won't work on me. My mother-in-law desperately tried to act tough, with a strained expression. Her appearance was so ridiculous that I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Threats? There's no way I'm doing that. As the person who has been the victim of everything you've done, you should understand best, right? And you know what will happen if I file a lawsuit.
Lawsuit?
I don't think there will be an arrest, but I'm sure the compensation will be substantial. My company and James's company have a business relationship, so rumors will spread quickly.
Wait! If you do something like that, James will...
Yes, that's right. I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen to your beloved son at his job.
But please, stop it, Megan!
The desperate cry of my mother-in-law made a nurse rush into the room. After explaining the situation, I was moved to a different hospital room. It was later revealed that the cause of my collapse was stress-induced gastric ulcers. You could say it had impeccable timing. It must have been my body telling me that I shouldn't be here anymore. After being discharged, I visited a law firm to initiate the process of claiming compensation. When I explained the situation, they informed me that I could make my mother-in-law and husband pay compensation. I finalized the divorce application and headed to my husband's place, who had been discharged earlier. My mother-in-law continued to glare at me, but I no longer felt anything towards her. Today would be the last time I would see them anyway. They paid the compensation in a lump sum, and our lives changed completely. They quickly depleted their savings, and it seems my mother-in-law even started working. Rumors of James's divorce from me spread within the company, and he became an outcast. Recently, he has been consistently absent from work without permission, and it's only a matter of time before he quits or fired. On the other hand, I moved to a splendid apartment and live a peaceful life. I have a carefree life without having to endure anything. Compared to before, it's so liberating and blissful. In that married life, I didn't feel like I was truly alive. Those days of true agony are finally over. From now on, I will live for my own happiness